Hand so we can swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Do.
Do you get them sworn in? Sorry, I have my volume down.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
All right.
Yes,
good.
sir.
Thank you. All right, personal docket cause number 23 CPR 0077, the state of Phyllis Bernice Absher. Mr. Baker, good morning.
Good morning.
You may proceed.
Thank you. And tell me if we have this zoom in and out problem again. I moved the machine closer, so hopefully we won't have the zoom in and out problem. We had
I don't see it doing it. I got kind of dizzy last quarter.
Very good. All right, Judge, I have a little, I told you last week, these kind of came in spurts. This is similar to type of hearing I had last week. We're asking you to admit to probate a photocopy or scan of the original because we can't find the original wet ink will. And so, and we're asking for an independent administration. Now, my witness is my applicant, Robert Vernon Absher Jr. And you are Robert Vernon Absher Jr., correct?
Yes, I am.
All right. And you've applied to admit to probate a scan or photocopier of the will not produced in court of your wife, Phyllis Bernice Absher, correct?
Yes.
Now, you have a piece of paper in front of you entitled Proof of Death and Other Facts, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you read it?
Yes.
Is everything in it true?
Yes.
And when we conclude this hearing, you're going to sign it. We're going to submit it as part of your testimony and the proof in this case, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, is it true that y'all resided at 9801 Highway 61, Hancomer, Texas, 77560 at the time of her death?
Correct.
And now she was temporarily in Montgomery County, but that was home.
That is right.
All right. And she was born in New York, January 31st, 1957, right?
Correct.
And she died in the corner. She had it was a gunshot death. It was unusual circumstances. And she was found September 4th, 2022 in Montgomery County alone.
Yes.
And the coroner figured, and so everybody's accepted it on her death certificate. The date of death is September 4th of 2022.
Correct.
Right.
Yes,
And you were nowhere around. You've never been accused. You're not,
No.
it was a suicide, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
All right. Now, it's also true that she left a will that you and she both had gone to a lawyer back in 1997, and y'all had done your wills, correct?
Correct.
And we have tendered to the court for admission to probate the scan and photocopy of that. And where did you get that scan?
From our attorney.
That prepared the will?
Yes, correct.
Right. And not only Phyllis's will, but your will too.
That is correct.
All right. And it's you've looked at it. Is that Phyllis's signature?
Yes.
Okay.
The one I took.
And to your knowledge, did Phyllis ever revoke that will?
No.
And you would have known, or most likely you would have known, if she had ever revoked it, you'd have found out about that.
Correct.
All right. Because y'all didn't have secrets like that between each other, right?
Correct.
And then when she died, you went looking where the will was supposed to be, and it wasn't there.
That is correct.
In fact, your will was supposed to be in the same place, right?
That is right. Yes.
And you can't find yours.
I cannot find mine.
All right. Now, the reason for that is because where you live in Hancomer, you've had to go through some emergency traumatic events or evacuations called Hurricane Ike, Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Harvey, Tropical Storm Imelda, flooding all around,
correct,
that sort of thing. All right. And you've had someone help you look for the will as well, right? Okay. Now, at the time Phyllis died, she was 65 years of age, correct?
Yes.
And she has one child, Leon Aziel Stern.
Correct.
And he is an adult at the time of her death, he was over the age of 35 years.
Yes.
Well over, right? You have to say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. And then he filed a waiver of service and issuance of citation in this case, right?
Yes.
And Judge, I'd ask you to take judicial notice of the waiver of issuance or service of process or citation filed by Leon Aziel Stern. We did it for him, but it should be in the record there.
Hold up.
Okay. Now, is it true that your residential address is 9801 Highway 61, Hancomer, Texas, 77560?
Yes,
And your mailing address is P.O. Box 361, Hancomer, Texas, 77560.
yes,
And is it true that Phyllis died owning property, some real estate interest and personalty in excess of $5,000 in value?
yes,
Okay. And is it also true there is a necessity for the an administration of her estate?
yes,
And then the will appoints you, nominates you as independent executor, correct?
correct.
Now, y'all married. When did y'all marry?
In 1991, September.
Right, in a ceremonial marriage in Harris County, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now after the date of Phyllis's will is dated July 24th of 1997, correct?
Yes,
After that date, did she have any children born to or adopted by her?
no,
Right. Leon is her only child.
that's it.
Okay.
Yes.
And you have a good relationship with Leon?
Yes.
Okay. And Leon, well, obviously he knows about this thing. All right. And the will is self-proving and is witnessed by the ladies at the law office, right? Pamela Warden and D.M. Stevens?
Yes,
Okay. All right. Judge, we ask that you admit the will to the photocopy or scan to probate. Like I did last week, I went ahead, instead of you reciting all the terms, I've asked that you attach that scan or probate or photocopy of the will to the order, make it part of the order and incorporate those terms by reference so that there's no mystery about what will's being admitted to probate.
So done. Thank you, Counselor.
Then I ask you to appoint Mr. Absher as independent executor and waive any requirement of appraisers. It's not a taxable estate.
All right, hereby appoint independent executor and authorize issuance of letters of testamentary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're done.
All right, cause number 91, the state of Sandra N. Harmon. Good morning, Mr. Mayo.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, Sandra Harmon died on March 27th, year 2023 in Mont Bellevue, Chambers County at the age of 85 and 4 years have not elapsed since the date of her death. She was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County on the date of her death. And the document we have filed with the court dated August 9th, 2007, is her last will and testament was never revoked as far as I know. Necessity exists for the administration of her estate, and no children were born to her adopted by the decedent after the execution of the will. She was never divorced, Your Honor, and no state, governmental agency, or charitable organization is named in the devisee as in the will. Melissa Jason Cox was named as executor of the will and has never been convicted of a felony and is qualified and is not disqualified from law from accepting letters testimony as entitled to receive such letters, Your Honor. That's all we'd have. We'd ask that you appoint her the independent executor, Your Honor, and waive appraisers.
We're done. Thank you, Counselor.
May be excused.
You may be.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Cause number 95, the state of Gracie May Levere.
Yes, Your Honor, we're here.
All right, you may proceed, Counselor.
Okay, go ahead and state your name for the judge.
Betty Marie Levier West.
Okay, and Mrs. Levier West, we're here to appoint you as the administrator of your mom's estate. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and your mom passed away on June 27th in Chambers County at 89. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay, and she resided and had her domicile in Chambers County at the time of
Yes.
her death? And so far as you know, she died without a will, right?
yes,
Okay, and you've looked for one and can't find one?
yes,
Okay, and there's a necessity to administer the estate, but we don't need to have appraisers appointed because it's not a taxable estate,
right,
right? Okay, and you're, as the daughter, you're qualified and entitled to accept letters, is that correct?
yes,
Okay, and your mom was married once during her lifetime to your dad, Joseph, is that correct?
yes, yes,
And he died in 2005.
yes,
And they had 5 living children from that
Yes.
marriage. Okay,
Yes.
so it's you, your sister Shirley, Charlene, Catherine, and Josephine.
Yes,
So the five of you are the heirs of the estate. Is that
Yes.
correct?
yes.
Mrs. Clapper has been appointed as the attorney ad litem. Do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you. Miss West, your father died back in 2005, correct?
Yes,
And you also signed an affidavit to prove the heirs of his estate, which are the same as the heirs of this estate, the five surviving daughters.
yes, ma'am.
All right. And the two affiants actually are the Guillerys. Have you spoken with them?
Yes, ma'am. That's my aunt and uncle.
Right. And in fact, this is a family affair. You're all there to get the heirship established by Judge Sylvia and then the administration of the estate
Yes, ma'am.
agreed upon. All right. There were other children born, but they did not survive infancy, correct?
Right.
Set of twins and a little girl. But
ma'am.
the five of you are all of the surviving heirs of your mom and your father, correct?
Yes,
All right. I noticed that you have already filed an affidavit in the deed records of Chambers County attesting to this, proving up your father's estate in the event there's a question there. But as far as Gracie, for the need of the other litigation that's pending, the heirs are Betty Marie Levier West, Shirley Levier Golston, Charlene Levier Thomas, Catherine Levier, and Joseph Levier Griffin, and that's all, correct?
yes, ma'am.
And they all live fairly close by.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't gain anything by bringing this action other than to secure that the things that your mother's entitled to,
Yes,
and subsequently the five of you.
yes, ma'am.
That's all. Are the Guillerys here today?
Yes, ma'am. They're here.
Okay, good. Thank you, Miss West.
Okay, if you'll go ahead and state your name for the judge, please.
Mary O. Guillory,
Okay, and your relationship to Gracie?
my
She
sister.
was your sister. Okay, so obviously you're very well acquainted with her family history and have personal knowledge of her marriage and her children. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you can testify that she passed away on June 27th in Chambers County. Is that correct?
Yes,
And that she resided in Chambers County at the time of her death?
correct.
Okay, and to the best of your knowledge, she died intestate, which means she died without a will. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And she was married once to her during her lifetime to Joseph and had the five living children. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And as Ms. Clapper alluded to, you don't have any interest in this estate. The estate's not indebted to you. You're just helping Betty
Correct.
with this whole result. Okay, great. Ms. Clapper, do you have any questions for Ms. Mary?
I just have one for the record to reflect. It's June 27th of 2022. That was when she died at home.
Correct.
And 4 years have not elapsed since that death, correct?
No,
And one other, after her husband died in 2005, and he was her one and only marriage, correct?
correct.
No marriage before that and no marriage after his death, correct?
Correct.
And no children born after his death.
Correct.
All right. Well, I thank you for talking to me and providing all this information. Everything that you heard me ask Miss West, you and I spoke about, correct?
Correct.
In fact, I think you said that the decedent raised you.
Yes. She's like a mom.
Okay.
And I babysit
Thank you.
her.
Thank you so much for answering our questions today. Thank you, Judge.
Next witness, Counselor.
Okay, and lastly, if you'll state your name for the judge.
B. Guillory Jr.,
Okay, and your relationship to Gracie.
my sister-in-law.
Okay, so you obviously knew her for how long?
It's about 50-some years.
I'm putting you on the spot, I'm sorry. About 50 years. Okay, so you were well acquainted with her family history and who she was married to and her children.
Yes.
Okay, so again, you know that she died on June 27th in 2022 in Chambers County.
Right,
Okay, and that she resided in Chambers County at the time of her death.
right,
Okay, and that to the best of your knowledge, she died without leaving a will.
right,
And that she was married to Joseph and that together they had 5 living or surviving children.
correct.
Okay. And again, you're not indebted to the estate. You have no interest in the estate, and the estate's not indebted to you.
No.
Okay. Ms. Clapper, do you have any questions?
Just one. You have been asked to give the same testimony in the Joseph Livier's estate back in the day. Like, you filed your affidavit of facts in 2022, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And in it, you stated that the five surviving children, Betty Marie Livier West, Shirley Goldston, Shirlene Thomas, Catherine Levier, and Josephine Gilry are the 5 heirs of both of their estates, correct?
Right.
All right. And if I asked you every question I asked your wife, would your testimony be the same?
Right.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Judge.
Yeah.
Judge, that's all we have. We ask that you appoint Miss Betty as the independent administrator and waive the necessity of an appraiser.
All right, Ms. Clapper, you agree to the judgment declaring heirship?
I definitely do, Your Honor.
I'm the first to approve the judgment declaring heirship. And attorney line fees.
Yes, there are. I think 500 is what I put on my affidavit.
Okay.
If that's
Yeah.
acceptable.
And then order the granting independent administration, issue letters of independent administration.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your
all.
Honor.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right, cause number 116, the state of Henrietta Elaine Dean. Good morning, Ms. Dennis. You unmuted and muted back again.
Good morning, Judge.
Now you got it. You may proceed, Counselor.
Yeah. May we proceed?
You may. Can
Okay.
you?
Please state your name for the record.
John P. Dean.
And how are you related to the decedent?
She was my wife.
And did she die on November 25th, 2023?
Yes, she did.
And did she reside in Chambers County, Texas at the time of her death?
Yes,
And to your knowledge, did she die? Did she have a will?
yes,
And that will has been submitted to the court, correct?
it has.
And it was dated March 10th, no, I'm sorry. She died without revoking that will. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did she have any children born or adopted after she made that will?
She did not.
At the time that she executed that will, was she of sound mind?
Yes,
And she was at least 18 years of age?
yes,
Did she have a marriage dissolve after the will was made?
no,
Has 4 years elapsed since the date of her death and the date that we filed this application?
no,
Is the state of Texas or charity any devisee under this will?
I'm sorry.
Did she leave anything to the state of Texas or a charity?
She did not.
Okay. At the time of her death, she owned property and real estate in about 100,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so there's a necessity for the administration of this estate, correct?
Yes,
And the will appointed you as independent executor?
yes,
And are you disqualified for any reason for being the executor of this estate?
I am not.
And you're asking the court to appoint you the independent executor and waive appraisers because it's a non-taxable estate. Is that correct?
Yes,
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mitchell probate and authorized letters. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you're done.
All right, cause number 0001, the state of William C. White.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir. How are you? Good morning. You may proceed, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge. Mrs. Morsund, your full name is Mary Catherine White Morsund, and you are formerly known as Mary Catherine White. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is it true that your father, William C. White, died on December 18th, 2023 in Gillespie County, Texas at the age of 70?
Yes, sir.
And at the time of his death, your father resided here in Chambers County. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And have you reviewed his original will, which was dated December 8th, 2010, which has been filed with the court?
Yes.
Does that instrument bear his signature, and do you believe that to be his last will and testament?
Yes, sir.
Did he ever revoke that will to your knowledge?
No, sir.
And is it true that your mother, Catherine C. White, is named as the independent executor in the will, and that your aunt, Gail White McBride, is named as the first alternate independent executor, but they both signed declinations which have been filed with the court?
Yes.
And the will names you as the second alternate independent executor. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
And is it true that there is a need for the administration of your father's estate because there are various assets that need to be transferred?
Right.
But you and I have discussed that this estate is likely not taxable, and so there would not be any need for the court to appoint any appraisers. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
And there were no children born to or adopted by your father after he signed the will. Is that correct?
Correct.
And no marriage of your father was dissolved after he signed the will. Is that correct?
Correct.
And his will doesn't name the state, any state, a governmental agency, or a charity as a beneficiary. Is that correct?
Right.
And you're not disqualified for any reason from serving as the independent executor. You're not incapacitated. You don't have any felony convictions. Is that all true?
True.
Right, Judge, that's all that we have. We've just asked the court to appoint Mrs. Morsund as the independent executor without bond, and to Mr. White's will to probate and waive appraisers.
Oh, done. Catherine, sorry to get back to 10.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, call number 0004, the state of Joanne Webb. Ms. Dennis, you still there? There you
Yes, Judge, I'm here.
go. All right, you may proceed, Counselor.
Thank you. Ms. Ramsey, please state your full name for the record.
My name is Selena Christine Ramsey.
And what is your relationship to the decedent?
She was my mother.
Okay. And did she die on September 20th, 2023?
Yes,
And her residence was in Chambers County, Texas at that time, correct?
yes.
To your knowledge, did she die without revoking her will?
She did not revoke her will. No,
Okay. Did she have any children born after that will was made?
no,
Did she adopt any children or have a marriage after that date of that will?
no,
Did she have a marriage dissolve after she made that will?
no.
At the time of the execution, she was of sound mind and at least 18 years of age?
Yes,
Okay. Has 4 years elapsed since the date of that will, the date of her death and the date that we filed the application to probate the will?
no,
Did she leave anything to the state of Texas or a charity?
no,
Okay. And there was a necessity for the administration of her estate, correct?
correct.
Okay. The will appointed you as an independent executor?
Yes,
Okay. And is there any reason why you would be disqualified from serving as the executor of her estate?
no.
I have nothing further, Judge.
All right, everybody admits will to probate and authorize letters?
Thank you, Judge. May we be excused?
Maybe.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Cause number 0005, the state of Larry Don West. Mr. Dawson, good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge.
You may proceed.
Okay, would you state your name, please?
Christine Ann West,
And how are you related to the decedent, Larry Don West?
who is my husband.
And he passed away on November 27, 2023. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you, of course, following his death, we filed his application to probate will. Is that right?
Correct.
And you and your husband lived on Cherry Point there in Chambers County. Is that right?
Correct.
And the document dated June 26, 2018 is the date of his will, and you provided that to me. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that will has been filed for probate in Chambers County.
Yes, sir.
And it is the will dated June 26, 2018 is his last will, and it's not been revoked. Is that right?
That's correct.
And a necessity exists for the administration. Is that right, ma'am?
Yes.
And you and Larry Don West were married in 1997. Is that correct, ma'am?
That is correct.
And there's under the will, there's no gift to any charitable organization or any governmental entity. Is that right?
That's correct.
And there's no need for an appraisal. Is that right, ma'am?
No, sir.
He never applied for Medicaid benefits.
No, sir.
And he appointed you as independent executor to serve without bond. Is there any reason that you might be disqualified from serving as independent executor?
No, sir.
And you've never been convicted of a criminal offense? Is that right?
No.
Okay, Judge, I'd ask that the court admit the will of Larry Don West dated June 26, 2018, and appoint Christine Ann West, also known as Christine A. West, as independent executor, and that's all I have, Judge.
We're done. Thank you, Counselor.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a good day.
You too. All right, last but not least, call number 0006, the state of Sophia Nadine Hall.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, we're here just for a regular admit a will to probate and letters testamentary. Nothing unusual about this one. All right.
Good.
You are Mary Harmon Wilkins, correct?
Correct.
And you've been sworn to tell the truth, our first thing, right?
Correct.
All right. You're here offering the last will and testament of your sister, Sophia Nadine Hall, to probate and for your appointment as independent executrix of her estate. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. You have, let me have that piece of paper. This document entitled Proof of Death and Other Facts. You've read it?
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes.
Are you offering this document as part of your testimony and the evidence in this case?
Yes.
All right. Now, is it true that your sister Nadine, we called her Nadine?
Correct.
She was born, her maiden name was Harmon,
Correct.
and your maiden name's Harmon. That's why it's Mary Harmon Wilkins, right? All right. And at the time she died, she lived at 11903 Cherry Point Drive in Mont Belvieu, Texas, 77580 in Chambers County.
Correct.
All right. Now, she died on 29 September 2023 in Harris County, right?
November.
Oh, November. I'm sorry. I wrote November, but I said September. 29 November 2023 in Harris County, Texas is when she died, correct?
Correct.
And she was 81 years of age.
Correct.
All right. Now, at the time of her death, is it true that she had personal property and real estate holdings in value of exceeding $5,000?
Correct.
Right. But is it also true she doesn't have a taxable estate?
Correct.
Okay. Now, is it also true there's a need for an administration of her estate?
Yes.
And you're familiar with her business, right?
Yes.
All right. Y'all were very close.
Yes.
All right. Now, she left 3 children, all adults, at the time of her death, right?
Correct.
And they're the same people named as the devisees in her will, right?
Right.
All right. Now, speaking of her will, Judge, do you have the will in front of you that we tendered?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
That will is dated October 25th of 2023, correct?
Correct.
And it's witnessed by Carly Whitaker and Kayla Buckner, and it's self-proving in accordance with the statute we talked about, but you were not there, right?
Correct. I was not.
But you have looked at that will and you had the possession of the original, and that was in fact your sister's signature.
Correct.
All right. And we don't know who Carly Whitaker and Kayla Buckner are.
Correct.
I mean, it's kind of unusual. It's kind of a surprise will, but you were named as your executor in her prior will too.
Correct.
Right. And there were some changes, but in any event, you're doing what she asked you to do and be the representative of her estate.
Correct.
All right. Now, is it also true that she doesn't owe Medicaid any money?
She does not.
All right. Let's see. At the time of her death, she was not married. Is that true?
True. She widowed.
She had been married one time, and that was to Orville Clayton.
Orville Clay.
Orville Clay Hall, and that marriage ended by his death.
Correct.
And then she does have a son named Clay.
Clayton.
His name is Clayton too? All right, I gotta get this straight. All right. Now, your mailing and physical address, residential address where you live is 2518 South Main Street, Anahuac, Texas, 77514. Is that true?
Correct.
All right. And your sister Nadine, she did not have any children born to or adopted by her after the date of that will, correct?
Correct.
Right. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but gotta ask it anyway. All right. And there, let's see. Judge, we asked, there's no reason you can't serve as executor, right?
There's no reason.
Right, that's right. Judge, we asked that you admit the will to probate, and appoint Miss Wilkins as the independent executrix of Miss Hall's estate.
Well done. Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good day.
Yes, sir.